Today we're gonna work at our input statement in Python. So like every other command, input statement is very important in Python to help us solve many problems, right? So first of all, I have just made a new file called as input.py, and I'm gonna work in it. All right, so before starting the input statement, I'll first tell you what is the syntax of input statement and then move on with doing some examples of it, okay? So with every command, you first have the syntax of how is it written or how it's being used, and then you can actually use it. So let's first move on with the syntax. So first of all, you may need a variable name before taking the input. So I'm gonna say let's say a variable, okay, and then it should be equals to, and then in here now you can say input. So input looks like this. You can say input input, and then as you can see in Python, because we are using Python here, so in Python we always get some suggestions uh, just below the command you're typing. All right, so we get input, and just if I type tab now, if we just press tab now, so we'll get the whole statement together. All right, so we need input, we need brackets, parentheses, and then we need some quotation marks. And within those quotation marks, we can give a message to the user about what do we actually want from it. All right. So for example, in your daily routine, if you want to ask for like a bottle of water, you're going to say, please give me a bottle of water, right? So in the same way, whenever you want to ask the user about something, you're going to give a message within those brackets and within those quotation marks. I'm just going to say message. All right. So this is how simply you can use the input statement in Python. All right. Now let's go ahead to give you an example of the input statement. All right, so how about we just ask the user to give us his first name, okay? So for that purpose, I'm gonna say, because first of all, we need a variable in which whatever user enters will go into, right? So for example, if I wanna ask the first name, I will say first, and then underscore, name, okay? And then equals to, there we go. And then I will say input, and then again, parentheses, quotation marks. Within that, I will say, please give me your first name. Just like that, okay? So notice that I intentionally give a little space after I'm done writing, okay? So I'll tell you what is the purpose of the space after I run this program, okay? In the next line, I will just try to print the first name so that it becomes something visible to see of what actually has happened. So I'm gonna say print first name, right? Now I'm gonna try to run this program. I will just right click on it, and then I will say run, and then input. Okay. Yeah, first of all, it's asking about the message because I gave a message here about to just say name. In the next line, now there you go. This is the line that we needed. It says, please give me your first name. And as you can see this blinking cursor, it's blinking after a little space. You see, I gave us a little space here, and that space is appearing here. Okay, now I can type whatever message I want, but I didn't give us space here, you see. So in here, it's not looking that much attractive for the user to enter anything. But if we give a little space here, now it's kind of very attractive or easier for the user to enter his name. So I'm just gonna say, for the first name, I'm gonna say, how about a John? Okay, we say a John, and then let's press enter, and there we go, it prints John on the screen. Nice. Let's do the same thing with his last name, okay? I'm just gonna go ahead by copying the whole thing, and then let's just space it in the next line. There we go. And I'm gonna change some parameters, like I'm gonna change this first with last, and in here I'm just gonna say again the last name, and in here we're gonna replace our first name with the last name, just like that. Okay, so because we don't need this line, so I'm just gonna comment this out, as we just talked about how do we comment. any line in Python in our previous video. So I told you, if you want to comment anything out in Python, you just can say a hash before that line, or you can just say, if you're using a simple computer, you can just say control and a forward slash, or if you're using a Mac, you can say command and then a forward slash. Okay, so both of these things would work. As you can see, as soon as I say a hash, this whole line is now commented out, right? So we were talking about the first name, we have talked about the last name. Let's try to run this one again to see the results. There we go. It says, what is your first name? I'm going to say John. It says, what is your last name? I'm going to say William. Okay, there we go. It prints William. And then now let's talk about how can we print them together. All right, so there are kind of couple of ways of how can we print them together. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to say first print, and then we can say this. We can say first name, comma, space, and then last name. Okay, so in this way, I have used two expressions and I have just give a space between them. Okay, I just give a comma between them. So this comma will automatically put a space between the first name and the last name. All right, let's go ahead and try to run this program. Says, please give me your first. I'm going to say John again, and then Williams again. There you go. It prints out John Williams. Nice. We can do something more interesting with it. We can just say hi, and then again a comma, and then first name and last name, right? Okay, so now this one is also a taken away point from the print statement. You can use the print statement and you can use more than one expressions to print out, but you always need to separate them all using a comma so that they can be, you know, printed in the same line but have some space between them. Let's try again to run this program. I'm gonna say John here. Oh, it went out like con. Okay, no problem. And then William, and then it says hi, Con William. That looks nice. Okay, so this was how you can print using commas. Now I'm going to tell you another way of how you can print, and this one is called as the formatted string. Okay, so we can say this. Let's press enter again, and then let's call it like this. I'm going to say print, and then if I want to print out using the formatted string, or we also call it the F string, we can say F and then quotation marks, and then within here now I'm going to say hi. Okay, so you can give your message like whatever you want, and as soon as you want to give a variable name, you can just say these brackets, these curly brackets, and within those curly brackets you can give your variable name just like that. So I'm going to say hi, first name, and then a little space again, and then curly brackets again, and then I'm going to say last name. There we go. It says hi, first name, and last name. There we go. Let's try to run this program again. Now this time I'm going to be a bit careful. So John and then Williams. There we go. So this hi John Williams, the first one, it came from line number 7 from this print statement, and this hi John Williams came from the line number 8, like this one. So like this F string, this kind of is very efficient. I always use this one, and I always also recommend people to use this one because it saves kind of a lot of time, like with the commas. Okay, so it kind of is very efficient. All right, now there is one more method of printing this statement. Okay, so let's say print now, and then inside of this we can say quotation marks, hi, and then let me open up my keyboard. Okay, hi, and then a space, and then a plus, and then a space again, and then we're gonna say, yeah, a space here, and then we're gonna say first name, and then again plus, and then last name. There you go. Okay, so this one is called as the concatenation. Okay, because all of these, like this hi and this first name and this last name, all of these are strings, right? So they can be concatenated. Okay, so strings can be added together in Python. Okay, so let's try to run this program for one last time and let's see the results this time. So let's say John, and let's say Williams, and there we go. It says hi and John and then Williams. So this third one came from this line. Okay, so there are plenty of different ways in which you can print something on the screen as well. Right, let's move on to working on our input statement again. Okay, so we first talked about what is the syntax of input statement. We took some examples. We took some examples of how we can print it. Now let's do another example. Let's do some mathematics with it. All right, so for example, if I want to change the weight of the user, or how about talk about the height? So for example, if I want to change the height of the user from feet to inches, okay, so that would be interesting. So what I'm going to ask the user is, I'm going to ask the user to tell me what is his weight in feet, and then I'm going to convert that into inches. Okay, so for my viewers, I will also ask you to first pause this video and think for yourself, how can you do this program? Okay, so what we actually want is, we just want to take the input as feet, take the height in feet from the user, and then convert that into inches. Okay, all right, so you will see the solution in a while. Okay, let's work on the solution part now. So first of all, as I already told you, we want the height of the user in feet, and then we convert that into inches. All right, so I'm just going to say, how about feet? So feet, and then equals to, feet is equals to, and then I'm going to say input, and within those brackets, I'm going to give the message to the user as, please enter your height, it's like EIGHT, okay, so height in feet, just like that. Okay, so we said, please enter your height in feet, and then we just want to convert feet into our inches, right? So I'm going to say this, I'm going to say inches equals to the feet multiplied by 12, right? So because we have kind of 12 inches in 1 feet, so it's like a conversion. Okay, so I have just converted the height in inches to height in feet. Oh, so height from feet to height in inches, right? In the next line, I will just try to print what we got as inches. So I'm just going to say print, and in here I'm going to say I'm going to use the F string in the whole course again, okay, because I sometimes like F string, or the formatted string we call it. So I'm going to say F, and I'm going to say your HEIGHT, your height in inches is, and then I'm going to use those curly brackets to print inches, right? Okay, so this way we'll have a very nice and compact kind of message to the user saying your height in inches is this. All right, so this whole program looks nice. It should have worked. So let's try to first comment all these things above because we don't need them. I will first select them, and then I will just say control and a /, just like that. So this is the whole code that is going to be run now. Okay, let's press this green button here, or you can also press this green button here. I'm going to use this one. Okay, so it says, please enter your height in feet. Okay, let's say 2. Yeah, that won't be very small. Okay, so let's say 4. And then if you just press enter, it says your height in inches is like, oh, you see, now this one was not, was kind of not expected, right? So now let me tell you what actually happened. So we said, okay, so can we kind of pause the recording? Okay, so let's talk about another practical example of solving a problem with our input statement. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, the question would be like this. So how about we ask the user his age in years, okay? So, and then we'll just be calculating like what was his birth year, like when he was born, right? So for example, if the user says like, if he's kind of 20 years old, okay? So the output of the result should say like your birth year is 2000, right? Okay, so now I would also encourage my viewers to just go ahead and give a try, like pause this video and try to solve this problem at your own, or you can just move ahead with the solution, okay? So take some time, pause this video, and look for your solutions, okay? We'll solve this problem in a while. All right, let's look at the solution now. So the problem was that we need to ask the user to give us his age at this time, and then we'll just calculate like at what birth year he was born, okay? So for that purpose, we may need to ask the age of the user, okay? So I'm just gonna say age and then equals to, let me open up my keyboard here, okay? So I'm gonna say age and then equals to, and then we're gonna say input, and then within those quotation marks, we're gonna say, what is your age? Simple like that. And as always, as I told you before, we need to give an intentional space after our message so that user can enter whatever he wants easily. Okay, now the next thing is, so as we just want to tell him like what was his birth year, we're gonna say birth underscore year equals to, and birth year is now gonna be equals to, so he will be like 2020, like this year, minus his age, right? So we should be like this. So we should be doing like this. So for example, if user enters 20, we'll just say 2020 minus his age, which is 20, and we should get the result as 2000, right? So in the next line, I will just print his birth year. Just like this. So this looks perfect. Let's try to run this program now, and then we'll see what actually happens. So it says, what is your age? How about I say 22? So the technically, the result should have been like 1998, right? If I try to press enter. But the thing is, what actually we got is, we got an error, right? And the error says, it's a type error. It says unsupported operand types for subtraction, okay? So something happened when we subtracted the whole thing, when we subtracted these two values, okay? It says we can't subtract an int from a string. This int means an integer. This str means a string, okay? So what is actually happening in this line number 12? As you can see, the error is in line number 12. It says we can't subtract an integer from a string. So in this line number 12, this 2020 is an integer, but this age here is a string. How did that happen? Because we just entered 22. How could that be a string? So let me first tell you, for your curiosity, we can also say there is also a function called as the type function, which helps us to check like what is the type of our variable. So I'm going to say type. Within the bracket, I'm going to give the name of a variable to check like what was the type of my age variable. Let's try to print this one. I will say print, and then brackets, and then type, print, and then brackets, and at the end we'll just say brackets again. There we go. So this will help us to check what is the type of age variable here. Let's try to run this program again. Now again, I'm going to say 22. If you press enter, it says, you can see, it says this age variable belongs to a class of strings, right? So now this is the takeaway point from here. Whenever we use the input statement in Python, whatever you enters, whether that be an integer or it can be a string or like anything else, Python changes that into a string. Okay, so like whatever you enter, either you enter entering an integer or a floating point value or a Boolean value, it will be changed to a string. Okay, so now what should be the solution of my problem? How should I get my actually desired result? Okay, so for that purpose, I will just be needed to change whatever user enters into an integer, all right? And for that purpose, we say this. We say int, and then we say brackets. This means that I want to change whatever user enters into an integer, okay? Just like this. Okay, let's try to run this program again, and then you'll see the results. Let's say 22 here. Let's press enter. There you go. It says it belongs to a class of integer, and then we've also got the result as 1998. There we go. So this whole concept is called as the type conversion. Okay. So in this video, we have actually covered up kind of three concepts. First of all, we looked at our input statement. Then we looked at different types of print statement, and then we also looked at the type conversion in Python. Okay, so I think this would be all from our input statement, and you can also change like this int to, you can also change that to a float, okay, and you can also change that to a string as well. We may need to say an str. So this will help us to change any kind of a variable to a string variable. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep that to an int.
Okay.
So this is all from our input statement. If you have any questions, you can ask in here or in the comment section.
Thank you so much. Now, I have only one question, that is,
Please.
in what purpose we do use input statements?
Okay, so do you want to ask about like what purpose does this input statement serves, right?
Right.
So we're gonna use the input statement in each and every case when we don't want to enter or we don't want to assign a variable any value manually, right? So for example, while a program is running, for example, if we want the user to enter a particular value so that we can perform some operations on that value, in those conditions we use the input statement, okay? When we want the user of our program to give us some values to work on.
Okay. So we can make our program interactive using input statements.
Exactly.
Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Nice.